Welcome to episode 1. So today we're going to talk about why marriage is sacred. You can't prepare for something if you don't fully understand it. So if you are going to succeed at marriage, you need to understand exactly what it is. You cannot enter marriage with the same mindset that you had when you were dating or courting. You need to have a different and a higher level mindset. And that's what I'm going to try to do in this episode. Share with you what marriage really means and why it is a holy institution. So before we do that, make sure you like the video, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and make sure you leave a comment in the comment section below. Now, let's start. So marriage is ordained by God. The first reason why it is sacred is that it's ordained by God. God is the one who started the idea of marriage. It's not a man-made invention. It's not because some politicians sat down and said, let's come up with something that will allow men and women to come together and form families. No, this was an idea of God. In Genesis chapter 2 verse 24, it's not good for man to be alone, so I'll create a helpmate for him. Okay, so you see that in Genesis chapter 2 where God creates Eve and he brings them to Adam and they get married. That's the first marriage that exists on earth. And what you have to understand is marriage by nature is rooted in God. It was formulated in God's mind. Hence, it is holy. The second thing is that marriage is a covenant and not a contract, meaning you actually stand before God and before people and pledge your lives to each other. It's not a contract where if you don't satisfy your end of the deal, that means I'm going to leave. If your partner doesn't do their end and you do your end, that means you have reason enough to leave. No, it's not like that. It's a covenant. It means you're bound together for life. Okay? The only thing that can destroy a covenant is unfaithfulness. Okay? That's the only thing. That's why Jesus was saying you cannot divorce except for the reason of immorality or adultery. Okay? Because that's the only thing that can breach this covenant. Otherwise, there's nothing else big enough to break a covenant. Some people will say that is unfair. People are being abused. People are doing so many things in marriage, and there are reasons enough to leave. But what I'm telling you is that for a covenant, it's not enough to just leave other than for the reason of unfaithfulness, which can only breach this covenant. That's what I want you to understand. So it's not a contract. You're not looking there to be served. You're going there because you want to serve someone for life. Okay, it's not a contract. That's what I want to emphasize is because in our modern time, you're seeing so many people actually portraying an image of marriage which looks like a transaction, a business partnership. But that's not what marriage is. Marriage literally is a covenant. That means you pledge your lives to each other. It's not about needs being satisfied. In as much as that's a part of learning how to love each other and live together as married couples, but that's not the basis of marriage. The basis of marriage is covenant. You are in it to win it up to the end. So that's very important for you to understand. Number 3, it reflects Christ's relationship with the church. You see that in Ephesians chapter 5 verse 25, where he says that husbands, love your wife as Christ loved the church. So you see it in Ephesians chapter 5 so many times being pointed out that marriage by nature is a mimic of the relationship that Christ has with the church. Literally a portrayal. Every day you live married and you walk married, you're literally trying to demonstrate the relationship that Christ has with his church. So very important. That's why it is sacred. Okay, the other thing is it also strengthens families and societies. Families and societies are built on the idea of marriage. This is why it's a very important thing. It's an institution that ties societies together. In a society where families are not working, that society will crumble before in no time. Okay, we see that as well in churches where if marriages are not working, that church will not last because families are the bedrock for any institution, any society, any family, any country. If marriages are not going well, believe me, that society will not stay. Okay. The other thing is marriage also promotes purity and commitment. So it supports love, lifelong love and faithfulness. But at the same time, it's a testimony to God's love. Actually, God wants us to use marriage as a form of witnessing to the world. When people see how married people are living, those people who profess adherence to God, if they are living well, they are walking with each other well, the world can begin to see Christ's love being portrayed and demonstrated right before their eyes. And that's a powerful witness. That's a powerful witness. So, marriage is a very sacred institution. It was started by God and it will be sustained if you keep God at the center. And I want you to understand that it's not something that men came up with, it's not a clever idea of some scientist. Marriage is God ordained. And that's why it is sacred. Thank you so much for tuning in today and for taking time to watch episode 1. Catch you in episode number 2.